Mohammed, the Egyptian cook, and for today's live, we are making a dessert known as basbousa in Egyptian culture. I am super excited for this one, but I'm also a little bit nervous because I've only ever made basbousa one time before, and it turned out good, but it definitely needed some improvement. So today is essentially my redemption video for making Besboussa. For those of you who do not know what Besboussa is, it is a sweet semolina cake. Uh, it's not your traditional type of cake with frosting and all of that confetti nonsense, sprinkles, and all that type of stuff. It's a very thin, sweet semolina cake. And instead of icing and all of those types of things, we use a lot of simple syrup. So with that being said, that is what is on the menu for today's live. Not only are we going to be making besbousa, this is essentially going to be a full behind the scenes look as to what I do when it comes to producing the recipe videos that I post to my social media platforms and website. So this is essentially all of it, not just the cooking, but also all of the camera work and all of the technical side of things. In front of me here, what I'm doing right now, I'm actually filling up my ulla with some water because it is out. You can tell by the color of it when the outside of it is actually dry. That's its way of letting you know that there is no water in here. So I'm filling it up right now, and then we will go ahead and get started with recording my voiceover lines for this recipe video. And then once that is complete, we will begin making the besbousa itself. That's all set for now. This can go on top of the refrigerator where I usually keep it. I keep it on top of the refrigerator when it's full. I only keep it on top of the refrigerator as I'm recording. But when I am done recording, I take it down because the ulla itself does condense. So it does release that moisture. Think of it like a cold drink in a cup. How the outside of the cup will condense and sweat. So it does the same, and ulla does the same, which is a good sign because it helps keep the water inside nice and cool for when it is time to drink. That being said, let me lift this camera up just a little tiny bit, and then we can go ahead and start recording my voiceover lines, and you can follow along on this screen. You can see everything that's happening, which will contribute towards my towards my final cut of the recipe video. Over here in front of me are my notes for everything that I will be saying and or doing for this recipe video. If you are wondering why the font is so large, this is Arial font, size 28 point font. The reason why it is so large is because I am legally blind. I was diagnosed with Stargardt's disease, which is a form of macular degeneration. When somebody says that they are legally blind, it is not the same as being fully blind. My vision is 20/200 in both eyes. To put that in perspective, for any of you with 20/20 perfect vision, what you see at 200 feet, I see at no more than 20 feet. And if you're wondering why not just wear glasses, it's not that simple. I wish I could just, simply get a prescription lens and be able to see. As of right now, there's no cure for my diagnosis. So in the meantime, I just have to do things a little bit differently. For example, when it comes to reading large size font. And despite it being so large, I still have to hold it super close to my face in order to be able to see what it is that I wrote and be able to read it. With that being said, considering that we are live right now, I know a lot of you like to be able to have whoever your favorite creator is, as you're watching them live, you enjoy them being able to interact with your comments as they're coming through or as you're joining the lobby for them to give you a shout out or thanks and all that type of stuff. Given my vision situation, I am unable to do that. Even with my phones being this close, I'm within arm's length of my phone. Not only can I not see my own like body reflection on the screen, to take it a step further, it's literally impossible for me to see any of the comments or any of the text that's coming up on screen. So if that's what you're looking for, I'm sorry, that's not just, if you're looking for that type of interaction from me during this live, I'm sorry, that's just not something that I can do for you. And with that being said, I still encourage you to comment and to stay engaged in the chat amongst everybody else who's in the chat, but be respectful, please, and thank you. There's no need to get into arguments or politics or any of that type of nonsense. We're simply cooking some food. You should be happy. If you're in a bad mood or whatever the case is, take your attitude elsewhere, please, and thank you. If anyone's going to have an attitude, it's me, because it is my live and this is my kitchen and I'm the one who yells, nobody else. All right, serious faces, people. I need to record some stuff and I can't be laughing and giggling as I'm reading my my lines. We need to be serious now. In Egyptian culture, Besboussa is a sweet semolina cake, and it means just a kiss. That is the actual Arabic to English translation of the word Besboussa. In a large bowl, combine semolina flour, sugar, baking powder, and vanillin. Then add coconut flakes to a food processor. And blend it to make it fine like you. Let me redo that one. I'm going to add another adverb to that. And blend it to make it nice and fine like you. I added the nice part. Mix the coconut flakes in with the dry ingredients. Now add melted semna and plain yogurt to the dry ingredients. Let me redo that one again because I kind of, like, my voice kind of like drifted, like paused in a way after I said semna. I don't like that. So let me redo that one for better flow and tone with what I'm saying. Now add melted semna and plain yogurt to the dry ingredients. Mix this really well, ensuring there are no clumps of the dry I was about to say bladder instead of batter. Let's try that again. There's no L in batter. Oh boy. Take two. Mix this really well. Ensuring there are no clumps of the dry batter left. I don't like that I paused. I should not. Let's just get rid of both of those. Delete. All right. All right, take 3. Mix this really well, ensuring there are no clumps of the dry batter left. Much better. The basbusa batter should be out of the... Should be out? No, it should be on. All right, let's try this again. The basbusa batter should be on the thicker side in terms of consistency. All right. The basbusa batter should be on the thicker side in terms of consistency. Let me try that one again. I'll keep that one, but let me... The basbusa batter should be on the thicker side in terms of consistency. Much better. Brush melted semna across all sides of a baking dish. Pour the basbusa batter in. Shake the baking sheet side to side and smack it down a few times on the countertop to not only... Nope. All right, let's get rid of that one. Where did I start with this one? Did I start with the shake? Let's see. Okay. This is a very long bullet point. I should have separated it to make it easier for me to record, but whatever. I'll just improvise right now on the spot. Shake the baking sheet side to side. Okay. And smack it down a few times on the countertop to not only help evenly spread the basbusa batter. Okay. Spread the basbusa batter. And smack it down a few times on the countertop to not only help evenly spread the basbusa batter. Okay. But also push any air pockets up. It should not be taller than 1 inch thick. Before baking this in the oven, carefully cut the basbusa into either diamond shapes or squares. Combine equal parts water with sugar. Bring it to a boil. Then add a squeeze of fresh lemon juice. Immediately turn off the heat. Add vanillin powder and give this a nice mix. Here is the basbusa fresh out of the oven. Immediately pour the homemade simple syrup over it while it's still hot. That sizzle is a good sign. Let it rest for about 15 minutes to allow the simple syrup to work its way through the besbousa. For optimal results, allow the besbousa to rest for several hours to really absorb that simple. Let's try that one again. Allow the besbousa, okay. Allow the besbousa to rest for several hours to really absorb that simple syrup. Egyptian besbousa. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that completes all of my voiceover lines. Rotate that. I need to turn my camera as well. Like so. And as I'm stepping out of frame of the live, you can follow, while I'm adjusting my main camera, you can see, follow along on this monitor to see whatever it is, whatever adjustments that I am doing with the camera. Start this recipe with dry ingredients. All right. Oops, that's the lemon. We don't need that yet. I need to lower this. It's too high up. Give me one moment, please. Let's see how we look. Still a little too high. Let's see. All right. I think that should be okay. I do have a couple recording lines. Anything that I have highlighted on my notes is my way of letting myself know I still need to record that line as I am doing whatever it is that I'm supposed to be doing in that step of the recipe video. Start this recipe with the dry ingredients. Kind of stumbled there a little bit on my words when I went between the and dry. So let's try that one again. Start this recipe with the dry ingredients. I think that one should be okay. Let's make sure it's in focus. Start this recipe with the dry ingredients. All right. I feel like I'm holding like when I was a kid and got some, pet goldfish, holding the bag like this. But this is not goldfish. This is semolina flour. Let's take it out of the bag first. This is essentially the primary ingredient for making besbousa, which is semolina flour. 3 cups. Somewhat a little bit generous, but that's okay. It will all work out in the end. So flour is what gives basbousa its slightly coarse texture and golden tender crumb. All right, semolina flour is what gives basbousa its slightly coarse texture and golden tender crumb. Semolina flour is what gives basbousa its slightly coarse texture. Semolina flour is what gives basbousa its slightly coarse texture and golden tender crumb. All right, let me get rid of this one because I kind of just like forgot as I was as I was thinking. Semolina flour is what gives basbousa its slightly coarse texture and golden tender crumb. All right, we got this. I got this. Semolina flour is what gives basbousa its slightly coarse texture and golden tender crumb. I can't stop like that. I need to say it all in one like continuous flow. Semolina flour is what gives basbousa its slightly coarse texture and golden tender crumb. All right, I can't forget. Cannot forget. Don't let me forget. Okay, no more laughing. Semolina flour is what gives basbousa its slightly coarse texture and golden tender crumb. All right, I said it all right. Let's just hope that it was in focus the whole time. I want the focus to be on this. All right, we're starting off good. Semolina flour is what gives basbousa its slightly coarse texture and golden tender crumb. Good to go. Now I need to adjust the camera down onto this giant mixing bowl. So I'll set this right here. And just give me a moment as I make these adjustments, please, and thank you. Let's see how we look. All right, like that should be okay. Got on the first try. Very good. All right. Up first is the semolina flour. sugar is next, then the baking powder. Sugar, we are just doing half a cup. I just used that. Give me one moment to grab a smaller bowl. Three-quarters of a cup. So a quarter cup for every 1 cup of semolina flour. You can definitely go more. There are those that really like Besboussa to be, you know, extra sweet. It's already going to be super sweet as it is because of the super syrup. But you can definitely go more on this. There are those who will. But I'm keeping it at quarter cup of sugar for every 1 cup of the semolina flour. And don't you worry, when I post the final cut of the recipe video, all of the ingredients, including measurements and all that good stuff, will be included with the video, and you will be able to find it on my website, theegyptiancook.com. Let's go ahead and add the sugar. Up next is the baking powder and then the vanillin. Let's keep this over here. Baking powder. Need to grab a spoon for that, and I'll grab the scissors while I'm over here too, because I will need it for the vanilla. That's the baking powder. And final ingredient. Well, the final for now, then we got to switch over for the mini food processor so we can do the coconut. So this is the second to last ingredient for the dry. For the, in terms of the dry ingredients, I should say. This is vanillin powder. That was the vanillin. Mini food processor. Let me plug it in. Give me one moment, please. While I do so, forgot to check, oops, to make sure that you guys could see everything okay as I am. Once I started preparing with the food, so I apologize about that. Let me adjust this camera a little bit better onto this mini food processor. All right, that should be okay. So we just got some coconut flakes. We'll go back to this, that. For now, I'll transfer it to a jar later. Get rid of that piece of plastic. Need to go a little bit more. Dry ingredients, mix the coconut with the dry ingredients, okay. Oops. Let's try it again because of those bigger pieces that I did not clean up. Let's make sure that last shot is okay. I think we should be okay. So the reason why you blend it, if the you don't want like the coconut pieces to be like significantly loud. Let's talk with our words here. You don't want the coconut flakes to be those like large shredded pieces, because it will essentially create when it comes to like the final dish when the basbousa is all set. You don't want those giant pieces of coconut, and plus anything that will be at the top, you will notice like significant difference in the color, kind of like spots of darkness, and that essentially is the coconut when the coconut is so large. So in the food processor, just for, you know, like a quick few pulses or whatever you want to call it, should be okay. Let's go ahead and unplug this and get it out of the way. Just give me one moment, and then we will come back with the bowl of dry ingredients. This can go to the side for now. Zoom out a bit. Can go to the sink area. It's going to go in the dishwasher in the end anyways. Now we need this thing, a whisk. That's all I need for now. Just a quick shot of me mixing, and I do have a recording line. So I do need to adjust this camera so you can follow along on that monitor and see what is happening with that camera as I am off screen. Off screen in terms of for the live, but now I am back. Let me tilt it down a little bit. All right. Let's see. Time to record the line. Oh, but we don't add coconut to ours. Okay, خلاص. Put the... Let's try this again. All right, let's rewatch that. See where I went wrong. Whatever. should be okay. Let's try this again. Oh, but we don't add coconut to ours. Okay, halas. Put the coconut back together and give it back to the tree. I thought for a second that like as this second one was happening, I thought that this was going to flip out again of the bowl, and I was really hoping that that would not happen. Let's check this one out. All right, I need to I'm too far to the left of the, and plus my hand gesture, I went like this. It's supposed to go like this. I'm supposed to show my hand for the okay, khalas. I kind of showed it to you guys instead. So let's try that one again. Let me shift a little bit this way. Shake this down from the sides. All right, let's try this again. Oh, but we don't add coconut to ours. Okay, halas. Put the coconut back together and give it back to the tree. I think that one will be better. All right, enough of that nonsense. That one was good. Let me grab a small or a plate in general. All right. I need, did I use this bowl? Yes, I did. I used it for the semolina flour. Let's push this to the side for now. I'm going to grab my countertop stove for this next part. And we have a salt mine on the grate. This is semna, which is clarified butter. Semna can also refer to ghee as well. I actually made this, I made this yesterday afternoon because about a week ago or 2 weeks ago, whenever it was, just recently, I ran out from the last batch I made. I think I made it in, I think it was in March, if I remember correctly, like March or April. So I finally finished it, and I definitely need more. needed more, especially for this recipe video. It's a very simple process for making clarified butter. You just take your traditional stick of butter, unsalted butter I should say, and fill a giant pot up with the sticks of butter, and then you melt it. You slowly melt it, like on low heat. You don't want to do it on high heat or anything like that, because you don't want the butter to actually cook. You just simply want to melt it. And as it melts, you will notice that the milk solids will essentially foam up at the top. And that's what you want to remove and scoop out and set to the side. And then you'll be left with a pool of that golden butter, which is the clarified butter. And then that's what you harvest into a jar on its own. What's the purpose of going through that process and doing that? Clarified butter has a higher spoke point than regular butter. That's one. Two, you're removing any of the extra stuff like the milk solids and then the salt if you buy the salted butter. But, you know, if you're making clarified butter, just cut to the chase and purchase the unsalted butter. And it removes any of that moisture or water substances that are in the butter. To put it in perspective for you, it's about like an 80% yield, like on average of, so like for every one stick of your traditional butter, it will yield about roughly like 80% clarified butter, and the other 20% is, you know, the milk solids and the water and all that other nonsense that you're essentially separating from it. All right, we're just letting this melt down. Let's go ahead and put the lid back on this. Just another minute or so and this will be fully melted. We're going to use a good majority of it for the batter. Then we're going to save some towards the end when it comes time to put the batter in the baking sheet. We're just going to brush some onto the baking sheet as well once we reach that step. Got like, looks like 2 more pieces that need to melt in here, and we should be good to go. All right, let's turn off the heat for that so we can move this to the side for now, because we temporarily do not need it. That can go right there. Bring the dry ingredients back over. Then I need to adjust my main camera for this next portion. Add melted semolina and plain yogurt to the dry ingredients. Okay. Let's see, we're on the next page now. So I do have a bunch of recording lines on this next page, anything that's highlighted. Let's see, mix this really well. Ensuring, okay, Besboussa batter. let's go ahead and get this camera better situated. All right, looks like you guys can still see the bowl and everything okay. So let's go ahead and do this. Up first is the semolina. Saving just a little bit in here for when it comes time for the baking dish. Up next is some plain yogurt. Let's get rid of that lid, that like the plastic film. Whatever, that'll be okay. Oops. I need a spoon for this. Now we mix. Once you incorporate the wet ingredients though, you do not want to overmix it because if you overmix it, it can essentially cause the semolina flour to release like the gluten. And then it will end up causing the basbousa itself, once it bakes, to be thicker than you want it to be. So be careful not to overmix it once you incorporate the wet ingredients. But you also want to ensure when you do mix it that there are no clumps of dry batter left over. So let's go ahead and get the first shot that I need. And then I do need to adjust the camera back onto me because I do have some recording lines explaining what I just said to all of you. Let's do this. There are some who add milk. They do a combination of yogurt and milk. You can do that. If you don't want to do that, then you just use one solely, preferably plain yogurt. this bowl, get the shot that I need, and then we can move forward. So when mixing this, if this is thicker, or not thicker, I misspoke. Oh, give me one moment. I need to do the CAPTCHA thing on TikTok. Sorry, YouTube, for looking across you like that. All right. All right, sorry about that, TikTok. I had to do the CAPTCHA verification that I am not a robot. But as I was about to say, when making the batter for the basbusa, if the batter is, you do not want it to be thin like a like pancake batter. You kind of want it to be, you want it to be on the thicker side to where it's not incredibly, how could I say this? Like you want to find that good happy medium where it's not thin like pancake batter to where like it all runs off the like whether you're using a whisk or a mixing spoon or whatever the case is, you don't want it to run off like that. You also don't want it to be too thick. Essentially, the best way to think of it, kind of like a wet sand in a way, but also like batter-like consistency, if that makes sense. Am I making sense? I don't know. I think I'm just confusing myself. But I'm going to add just a little bit more yogurt to this. This is plain yogurt that we are using. Should be okay. This is really well. Okay, I just did that. Let's see. Let me adjust this camera for this next shot. Just give me one moment, please, as I go through and do that. And you can follow all the chaos on that main monitor as it is happening. All right, let's push this down like that. Let's see how this looks. I need to do a shot where I lift this up to kind of show like the thickness. Besboussa batter should be on the thicker side in terms of consistency. Lift it up and hold it like right there. Let me zoom it out just a little bit. All right, scoop it up and hold it like right there, and we should be good to go. hopefully that shot is good. If it is, we're good to go. See what I mean? Like on how it needs to be on that thicker side to where not like pancake batter. If this was pancake batter, you'd be able to see right through this whisk. You don't want that to happen. If you scoop it up like with what I just did, and you can essentially see through, like if you're using a whisk, if you can see right through it, initially that is not a good sign. That means you made it too thin. Let's go ahead and clean this off since we are all set with it. Don't fall. Especially now because it's no longer dry. It's wet now, so all right, now I have some recording lines, so let me adjust this camera. Let me adjust this camera up onto me. Like so. All right. If it has a consistency like pancake batter, then you made it too thin. If it has a consistency like pancake batter, then you made it too thin. Let's check it out, make sure we're good to go. If it has a consistency like pancake batter, then you made it too thin. Let's try it again. If it has a consistency like pancake batter, then you made it too thin. Let's check it out. And we can move on to the next recording line. I have 3 or 4 recording lines altogether for this portion. If it has a consistency like pancake batter, then you made it too thin. Okay, that should be okay. Do not mix the Besboussa batter because the semolina can absorb too much of the liquid and activate excess gluten, which causes it to become dense and tough. That's what I was trying to say earlier, but then like I went around the entire world trying to say that. All right, where am I? Okay. Do not overmix the Besboussa batter because the semolina can absorb too much of the liquid and activate excess gluten. Oh my goodness, this is a mouthful. Do not overmix the Besboussa batter because the semolina can absorb too much of the liquid and activate excess gluten, which causes it to become dense and tough. All right. Do not overmix the Besboussa batter because the semolina can absorb too much of the liquid and activate excess gluten. I'll start with that. Do not overmix the Besboussa batter because the semolina can absorb too much of the liquid and activate excess gluten. Do not overmix the Besboussa. Do not overmix the Besboussa batter because the semolina can absorb too much of the liquid and activate excess gluten. I need to be careful so this doesn't pour out of the bowl as I'm trying to explain this. Get this out of the way before it makes a mess. All right, let's review this shot.
Do not overmix the basbusa. Do not overmix the basbusa batter because the semolina can absorb too much of the liquid and activate excess gluten.
Do not overmix the basbousa batter because the semolina can absorb too much of the liquid and activate excess gluten. Okay. Very good. Which causes it to become dense and tough. Which causes it to become dense and tough. I kind of fumbled with my hand gesture body language. I started doing one thing and then let's try it again. Which causes it to become dense and tough. That one should be okay, I hope.
Which causes it to become dense and tough.
All right, we should be okay. All right, what's next? Melted semolina on a pan. That brush. This can move aside. Oops. Some did spill of the wet batter onto the counter. Let me clean this up. This is okay. Actually, get this set up first. All right. Let me adjust my camera for this next part. And you guys can follow along on that monitor to see what's happening with the camera as I'm doing it. That is way too low. That should be okay. Let's pretend to pour. All right, that should be okay. Oops, I shouldn't have done that. All right. Where's the, oh, there it is. If I need to add more, I'll add more. I don't want to pour the rest of it. There's probably like, I don't know, like 2 tablespoons left in here, 1 or 2 tablespoons. We'll see how this goes and go from there. Just pouring any of the excess back into the pot. I'll just repurpose it for something else. Oops. Didn't mean for that to fall in there like that. Just working the edge. All right. Now we pour the batter in. Brush melted 7, then pour the batter in, shake it, smack it. Okay, very good. All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's do this. Let me go wash off my hands, be right back. Now we're going to shake it instead of, using like a spatula or whatever to spread it. We're just going to shake it and smack it down on the countertop a few times. Oops. It's just this last corner that's being stubborn. Like literally this last corner. For the most part, I think this is like a 9.7 out of 10. It's literally just this last corner that that does not want to cooperate, but that's okay. Quick and easy fix. Let me wash my hands. All right, I think we got it nice and even. Oops. Oh my goodness, no. There's like silver on my countertop now. Whatever, it'll be okay. It's not the end of the world. It's just a countertop. This countertop has chips and stuff in it anyways. Whatever, it is what it is. All right. Let me do it this way. I'm over here destroying stuff. Whatever. This basbousa, so far, it's looking good to me. I know it's going to turn out a million times better than the last time I made basbousa. So it's a win. It's going to be a win regardless. Okay, shake it, smack it. We just did all that. Let's see. Actually, all right. That's the first one. Where am I? I'm at the top here. I should be no more than 1 inch thick. So I'm simply just using this as a guide to help me. So before you bake this in the oven, speaking of oven, I need to turn on the oven. Let me set this over to the side. Let's turn on the oven. Oops, wrong button. All right. Preheating the oven at 400 degrees Fahrenheit. So I'm simply just using the skewer as a guide to help me cut a straight line. I'm not the greatest at cutting straight lines or even pieces. A lot of it has to do with my vision, so my lines are going all over the place. But considering I'm making basbousa, and so far up to this point, prior to it cooking, we're looking good so far in terms of the batter and everything else, and the tray and consistency, all the good stuff. So I want this to come out as perfect as I can possibly make it. So I'm simply just going to help use this as a guide and then gently run the knife along it. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. So I'll do 4 by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 4 by 6 or 4 by 5. We'll see what happens in the end. Watch me. You know, I'm using this as a guide. Watch it still come out crooked. Whatever. It is what it is. It's all going to get eaten anyway, so you know it's still going to be a win in the end. Let's see. Before baking this in the oven, carefully add can't even talk straight right now. Before baking this in the oven, carefully cut the basbousa into either diamond shapes or squares. Don't tempt me to pull out the measuring tape. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. You guys made me do it. All right, we got 11. We want it at like 5.5. This is still gonna come out uneven. All right, let's do this. So when cutting this before it baking in the oven, you do not actually have to physically like push the blade all the way down to the bottom. You're essentially just creating like those trace lines, I guess you could call it. So we'll go right here. Plus, if you go in too deep, then it's going to push a lot of the, it's going to push the batter kind of like how it did right here towards the corner, or towards the edge, I should say. So you just want to be careful with this part, so that way you're not, pushing the Besboussa batter around and causing like an uneven plane. Let's see. How many should I do this one in? Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. This tray is 16 across. Let's see. 11 by 16. So if I did 5. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. Whatever, don't judge. This Besboussa is going to be amazing, and in the end, it's probably, I will, give credit to the measuring tape as well, too, for cutting, the perfect slice and all that nonsense. That beeping noise was the oven. So in a way, perfect timing. All right. That can go to the sink. This corner right here, I just need to clean off. Same as over here towards just this edge in general. Okay. I think we're looking good. And if you mess up when you're making your lines, just simply, take out your anger and frustration, smack it down a little bit more, and then it will all smooth out. And then just retrace or cut your lines again. Let's see, bake this oven at 400 degrees Fahrenheit for about 30 minutes. All right, I need to adjust the camera up onto me. this. Zoom that out. Let's see how we look. All right. Bake this in the oven at 400 degrees Fahrenheit for about 30 minutes. I don't like how I said 30. I think I said with a D at the end, like DY instead of TY. Bake this in the oven at 400. Really? Internal temp too high? So annoying. Let's turn that off for a moment. Sorry about that, guys. We'll wait a little bit, just a couple minutes for my main camera to cool down. I do have a few recording lines like baking in the oven 400 degrees. Then switch it to a broil for a couple of minutes. Okay. All right. So while we're waiting on my camera to cool down, just to bring everybody up to speed, welcome to my kitchen. I am Mohammed the Egyptian Cook, and for today's live, we are making Egyptian besboussa. Besboussa is a sweet semolina cake. So this is ready to go in the oven. We're just temporarily waiting for my main camera to cool down so I could record that line and that instruction, and then I have to record myself putting this in the oven and all that good stuff, and then we will work on the simple syrup. But to make this batter, it was a very simple process. We combined we started with the dry ingredients. We combined semolina flour with sugar, baking powder, vanillin powder, and then some shredded coconut. Well, we took some coconut flakes, we threw it in a mini food processor, and then we blended that, and we combined all the dry ingredients together. Once the dry ingredients were mixed, we melted some semna, which is clarified butter. We melted it down in a small pot. We added it to the ingredients. We added it to the dry ingredients along with a whole lot of plain yogurt, and then we gave it all a nice mix. But we did not overmix it. If you overmix it, the semolina flour will absorb too much of the liquid contents, which will result in it can activate the gluten, and then it can result in a tougher besboussa once it bakes. You do not want a tough besboussa. However, when making the batter, you do want the batter to be a little bit on the thicker side. So I was using a whisk to mix it all together. And the example that I gave, when you go to, as you're mixing it and you lift it up, if all of the batter instantly seeps off the whisk, then you made it way too thin. You do not want this to be like a pancake batter. If it is thin like that or running like that, then you made this way too thin. It should be on the thicker side to where like I can tilt it. It will slide down a little bit, but not anything too extreme. So once we had it all mixed together, then we put it in, before we put it in this baking dish, I took some of that semna, that melted semna, and I brushed it all along the bottom and the sides of the baking sheet. And then we poured in the besboussa batter. Then we gave it a nice shake from side to side to spread it out. And then we smacked it down on the countertop several times, and we got some silver on my countertop as well. So that was it's an easier way. Next time, if you do this yourself, don't do it directly on your countertop. Lay down a towel or something and then smack it down. Take out your anger and frustration on this besboussa. It will be rewarding in the end. Then we traced over some lines to make the pieces. I cut them into squares. You could also do diamond shapes if you want. And we're ready to bake it in the oven, but my camera went down. And me bringing everybody up to speed, that essentially should given us enough time to turn that back on. Hopefully it had enough time to cool down. So let's go ahead and find out. So let's turn that back on. All right, it turned on, so that's a good sign. Bake this in the oven at 400 degrees Fahrenheit for about 30 minutes. Let's review it, make sure we're good to go.
Bake this in the oven at 400 degrees Fahrenheit for about 13 minutes.
Good to go. Do have another recording line. Let's see. Let's switch it to a little broil for a couple minutes to give the top layer that nice brown crust. Then switch it to a low broil for a couple minutes to give that top layer that nice brown crust. Okay. Alright, I need to bring this camera over to the oven. Let's actually bring you guys this way. Here, let me give you guys a quick close-up of how it looks before. Here, let me actually tilt this down so you guys can see in the tray better. So here's how it looks before we put it in the oven. All right, let me adjust this back up. Let me bring this camera, oops. Put this right here. I need to adjust this camera. Oops. Give me one moment while I get this locked into place. All right, that should be okay. I need the remote. Let's take that out. All right, got the shot that I need for that. I need to set myself back up over here because while that is in the oven, we need to work on the simple syrup, which should not take that long. So let's bring the camera down here. Oops, just put that there for now. Don't need this, don't need this. Just putting this in the dishwasher and clearing it out of the way of the countertop. Just go ahead, clean up all this nonsense. So far, so good. Oh, what time is it? It's 5:36. So what? I didn't reset that clock, so it's like 4:36. But basically, in 30 minutes, that's when the basbusa should be ready. So just for the sake of the time, that's excuse me. That's on the microwave. We're going until 6:05. That is when we will take it out of the oven. Well, at least check on it. And then we do need to switch it to a broil as well. For just like 1 or 2 minutes, just to give that top layer nice brown crust. So basbousa is essentially 3 layers, top and bottom crust, you know, brownish, like browner colored crust. The inside, that nice golden color. All right. All right, I need to adjust this up on me. All right, so I need lots of sugar for this next part. It's gonna be too small. Sugar, like a generous 2 cups of it. Water. Let's do. Here's the water. Actually, Let's up it a little bit. Gonna make a little extra just to be on the safe side. All right. That's the sugar. Also going to plug you in to charge too. While we're at it, just give me one moment, please, and thank you. Oops. Oh my goodness. I am struggle boating to get you plugged in. There we go. We did it. It only took 13 tries, but that's okay. What's important is we got it in the end. All right. Oops. Let's tilt you guys back down. Let me just adjust the screens a little bit. All right, we should be okay. So we got the water, we got the sugar. Let me get the lemons ready. Rolling it along the countertop before slicing it. This will make it much easier to squeeze. And we got the vanillin right here. So we're good to go. We got everything that we need. Oh, that looks very slanted. Let's fix that. Oops. What just happened? There we go. All right. I use the top of the refrigerator as a guide to see what whether it's slanted or not. That's what I use as my guide. All right. While the basbousa is baking in the oven, let's prepare the simple syrup. That's the remote, yep. While the basbousa is baking in the oven, prepare the simple syrup. As long as it's in focus, we're good to go.
While the basbousa is baking in the oven, prepare the simple syrup.
We should be okay. I need to adjust the camera for these next 2 shots. Just bear with me here, please, and thank you. And like before, while I am adjusting the camera, you can follow along on this monitor right here. You can see all the adjustments that are being made as it is happening. That was the first few shots, or first couple shots that we needed. Now we need to bring this up, like so. Temporarily turned off the heat while I make these adjustments. That's good. No, this next shot is not going to be of my forehead. It's going to be of that. Let's straighten it out. All right, that should be okay. That was water. Next is the mountain of sugar. It's a 1-to-1 ratio. So I did 3 cups of water, so 3 cups of sugar when making your own simple syrup. Let's try it again. Get rid of that nonsense. Oops. Okay. This does not take long to make. I just checked the time. We still have 15 minutes, so we're going to be cutting it really close. In general, like if you're not recording and doing all the nonsense that I'm doing on top of this, on top of just the cooking, this really should not take you that long to make simple syrup. You're essentially just combining equal parts water with sugar. You're mixing it well, ensuring that all the sugar dissolves. You let it reach a boil. Continue mixing it. Then you'll notice that it will start to reduce and thicken. And then you add once it reaches a boil, then you add the lemon juice. You continue whisking it or mixing it. And based on how thick you want to make the simple syrup determines essentially how long you let it cook for. And then regardless of your desired level of thickness for the simple syrup that you go for, once you reach that point, you turn off the heat, then you add the vanilla, or as what I'm using vanillin, which is vanillin. Vanillin is VANILLIN. It's a, if I remember correctly, it's a like one of the components or something science-y that has to do with the vanilla extract, like from something. Just look it up. It's vanillin, vanillin powder. So basically, once you reach the thickness that you want, that's when you turn off the heat and you add the vanilla and or the vanillin, whichever you are using. going to check on the basbusa, see how we're looking. It's starting, the top layer is like a light brown color, so that is a good sign. The sugar is pretty much, at least it looks dissolved to me. So let me turn up the heat on this while we let it reach a boil. Let's see, bring it to a boil, then add a squeeze of fresh lemon juice. We got like a little bit of sugar, like a little tiny bit that has not dissolved yet. And while we're waiting for this to reach a boil, just to bring you guys up to speed on some other things that happened, other current events, I guess that you can call it, that have been happening in terms of the Egyptian cook. Today I did post my latest recipe video for mahshi bidingan, which is a Egyptian style stuffed eggplant. So if you have not watched that recipe video, definitely check it out. Like it, share it, leave a comment. Let me know your thoughts on it, please, and thank you. And most importantly, try it for yourself. If you're looking for a different way to prepare eggplant and to enjoy it, definitely check out that recipe video. And on my website, theegyptiancook.com, that is where you can find the all the ingredients that I used, plus the written instructions and the video all in one place. So if you have not checked out my website, please feel free to do so, theegyptiancook.com. Everything is linked in my bio. Also, I posted another video today. Last week on my Instagram story, I posted one of those like ask me something posts or whatever, where like the viewer, you guys could ask me whatever question that you wanted. And I just took each of those questions and turned it into its own short video. And the first one posted today, where one of my followers on Instagram asked me what my least favorite Egyptian food is. It's that video is literally 7 or 8 seconds long. Go check it out. Join the conversation in the comments section, because a lot of people, it's like people are kind of like all over the place with what I said in that video. And I was being honest. I'm not trying to like rage bait anyone or any of that type of stuff. I was just honest, I gave no explanation. I just said what my least favorite Egyptian food is. And based on how some people, like especially the ones who are upset, based on how the ones who are upset are commenting, it seems like they're thinking as if, they have the perception that I said, that I hate this food. It's like, no, least favorite does not mean you hate the food. It just means it's your least favorite. So definitely go check out that video. Just posted today. And for the next 2 weeks, I have another, each day we'll have a question of the new question of the day video posting. So definitely check those out. And if you are one of my paid members on my YouTube channel, you have access to every single one of those videos right now as we speak. For everyone else who is not a paid member on my YouTube channel, you have to wait for it to release on each day. So definitely check it out. At least the one that I posted today, my first one for least favorite Egyptian food. What some of you guys are saying is absolutely hilarious. Like a few of you on TikTok, some of the comments, like one of the comments said that somebody needs to take away my Egyptian license. Somebody else said that I need to go back to the motherland and essentially like reconnect. What else did some of you guys say? Then somebody else wrote that she would say the same to her parents, and her parents would lose it every time. Temperature too high. Let's turn that off. Let's turn on AC for a moment here. And there are some of you that were shocked that I said what I said. What else? Then a lot of you mentioned what your least favorite Egyptian food is as well. What else? What else? What else? It's all I can think of for now. But regardless of the matter of where everybody fell with their opinions, honestly, they were all of your comments have been very entertaining thus far. I have not actually responded to any of them in terms of the comment section itself. This is my first time like addressing anything about it. Um, but uh, but overall, I think it's what everyone's saying is just like absolutely hilarious and entertaining. So definitely check out that. And I plan to do more question of the days. Like as of right now, I have 13 posted. And like I said, they're exclusive to my paid members on my YouTube channel. But I do plan to do more question of the day posts and turning each one into like a short video uh, with my response addressing those questions. So definitely stay tuned and pay attention to my Instagram stories because that's where you will have the opportunity to ask me whatever question it is that you want to ask me. And it does not have to be exclusive to Egyptian food or cooking. It could be for essentially anything and everything. So pay attention to my Instagram stories for more of those in the future. So that way you guys can ask your question. All right, we finally reached the boil after all that chit chat. All right, let's. Let's turn this away from the heat. Just moving my camera right now. Let's turn her back on. Hopefully we're good to go. All right, let's see how we look. Lift it up a little bit more. Just tilt it down a little bit more. Zoom it in. It should be good to go. Where's the remote? There's the remote. That was the lemon juice. And we have about 5 minutes left on the Besboussa. And we're going to switch it to a broil. Spoon. Excuse me. I need to adjust this down. Bear with me, please, and thank you. This is vanillin powder. So that's the simple syrup. Just moving this out of the way. Just gonna keep it on low heat on the stove behind us, I should say. Moving this out of the way because we're all set with it. And I need to get myself ready for the Besboussa because we are cutting it really close to that time of it coming out of the oven. So let's move this out of the way. Just set it there for now. Remote can go here. This is all for the sink, 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 sink. All right. All of this for the sink. Right. Sink. Pantry. just gonna move back to the coffee machine area. Semolina can go back in the fridge. We're all set with that. Pantry. Now let's clean up the counter. We'll check on the Besboussa. Switch it to a broil just for a couple minutes. And we will go from there. I need one of those things, plus 2 of these things. I'll set this like that, and then we'll use this as a test. Give me one moment. Please and thank you. All right. This is way too low. Let's zoom in a bit. Let's adjust this like this. Put this here like that. That should be okay, I hope. All right, let's check on the basbusa. All right. I'm gonna take it out of the oven, not because it's done, but just to give you guys a look and see how it is at 30 minutes of baking. Just give me one moment. I'm going to keep you guys just how you are. All right, so it's got that light brown color on top. You want it to be darker than this. Let's feel it. All right, in terms of like how it feels and tenderness, I think we're good to go, but we do need it to be darker on top. So let me go ahead and put this back in the oven. However, we are going to switch it to a broil. Just for like 1 to 3 minutes. Let's see. Let's press some buttons on here. Broil, start. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're looking good so far. Kitchen's cleaned up. Well, what you guys can see is cleaned up. Everything that's behind you is a disaster. The basbousa is looking good. The simple syrup is beside us here and ready and good to go. What else? I think that's pretty much it. So we're just waiting for that top layer to form like that nice brown crust. As of right now, as of like a minute ago, it was like a light golden color. You want it to be more on the brown side. So we switched it over to a broil. Don't get carried away or too distracted when you switch it to broil, because it will go super quick, and it's just a little bit different based on the type of oven that you have. So anytime you swap it to a broil, just to get that nice color, be sure to stay near your oven and check on it, so that way it does not accidentally burn. I have made that mistake before, not with Besboussa, just in general. I made that mistake plenty of times where I'll switch it to a broil and forget to check on it, or I'll go sit down or whatever the case is, and then next thing you know it, dinner is burned. But whatever, if it's still edible, I'll eat it. So oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. All right, now we're starting to transition a little bit to the brown side of things. Here, let me give you guys a quick look. It got a little bit darker. We still want darker than that. So back in the oven we go. It is currently on broil. The rack is still in the middle. If I move the rack up, this will go a lot quicker, but it is what it is. I don't want to overly burn it, or it could be something as quick as me saying this one sentence, and then all that work. And and I do have some semolina flour left over, but this is enough to make like a small, like like enough for this, for example, like an individual basbusa. It's actually not a bad idea. I should do that. That would be fun. All right, let's check her out. All right, we're getting there. We're getting there. I am super duper excited for this one, because so far everything is looking good with how the basbusa is. And like I said earlier in the live, this is essentially my redemption for when I made basbusa. I've only ever made basbusa once before, and that was like a little over a year ago. It was good, but it definitely had room for improvement, and I think this right here is that improvement. Let's check again. Almost there. Like another, I don't know, 1 more minute, 90-ish seconds, somewhere in that ballpark, and we should be good to go. Let's turn this off just to be on the safe side, so that way it does not overheat. I do have the AC running. I need to turn that off when it comes time for me to take it out, because of all the noise from the fan. Don't want that. All right, I'm going to turn off the AC. That is off. Let's turn this back on. Hopefully that 10 seconds of me turning it off made a difference. All right, ladies and gentlemen. Here we go. Got that nice brown color on top. All right. Now, this next part, we immediately come over with the simple syrup. All right, I need to be careful when I do this. Let's do this. Oops. No. Okay, I got it. I just didn't hit stop recording. Whatever. It's okay. All right, coming over with the simple syrup. Let's do this. I really hope that was in focus. Like, I really, really, really do. Please let it be in focus. Please let it be in focus. Please let it be in focus. Because it's not like I can take it out and do it all over again. I think we're okay. Let me wipe down some of this that splattered. All right. Ow. Oh, boy, oh boy, oh boy. All right, let me wash my hands really quick. All right. Oven's off, stove is off. Besboussa is looking good. Life is good. All right. Combine, I already did that. We already did all the simple syrup nonsense, blah, blah, blah. Okay, let it rest. Sizzle. We did not get the sizzle sound. We did not get the sizzle sound, but that's okay. As long as you're doing everything when it's hot. You want to allow this enough time, and if you saw, like, as I was pouring it to the simple syrup, like a lot of it like kind of like pooled above this top layer of the basbousa. That is a good thing. That's not a bad thing. You want that to happen because you want the simple syrup should be able to take its time to seep through. As you can see, especially for like the top part, with the exception of the edges still has like that pool of the simple syrup. That's okay. With basbousa, you want it to rest. It needs like about like 15-ish, 15 to 20 minutes for that initial like pouring of simple syrup for it to seep down. However, for the most optimal results, you want to wait a few hours before serving this for a couple of reasons. If you cut into it right now, while it's still hot, it's going to fall apart. The pieces are not going to hold. That's number one. Number two, it does not give the simple syrup enough time for it to actually work its way through. And as it cools, it kind of, like the sugars essentially like harden in a way, if that makes sense, which helps hold the basbousa together. I think we're looking good, feeling good. And I don't know if you guys can tell, I'm just letting this sit for a little bit. Let me get the shot that I need, and then I'll show you guys. Let's see, where am I? Sizzle, that didn't happen. Okay, later, rest for about 15 minutes. I'm going to add just, of course, internal temperature too high. Story of my life. All right. Let me turn this off. Turning the AC back on. Shutting the blinds. still hot. Let me wash my hands because they are a little bit sticky. And the syrup. All right, how can I do this? Here's what I'll do actually. Going to bring you guys up onto the counter. So just give me a moment to adjust the legs to the tripod. So I apologize for the rocky ride temporarily. Let me bring you guys up here like so. And then let's tilt you way down like so to give everybody a better point of view. So considering that we have to let this rest for a couple hours before we serve it, I'm not going to cut into it. I'm not going to lift the piece up because it will fall apart. We just put in, we just poured over the simple syrup onto this basbusa, and it does need time for it to really absorb it and to cool down, for the basbusa to hold its shape and its form. So I'm not going to cut into this just yet or take that piece out, unfortunately. And with that being said, I'm not going to, considering that this is essentially the end, all that that I have to wait for is just for this to cool down, for it to hold, and for me to be able to take my next few shots that I need for like my intro and outro and all that good stuff. I'm not going to stay live for this while we're essentially waiting for a few hours because this is literally it. But that essentially gives you guys a better point of view of the basbusa to see the result of the final piece. That will not be until the final cut of the recipe video. So here, here's what I'll do. I'll go like this. Actually, let me guys back a little bit more, like so, and like so. Hopefully everybody can see me okay. So like I said, that will essentially like conclude our live for tonight, considering that I have to wait a couple hours before I serve this and cut into it and all of that good stuff, because I do not want it to fall apart as I am waiting for it to like if I serve it now. Other than that, just by looking at it right now, I am super happy with the results. So I did add a few things I want to point out before we conclude this live. I did add shredded coconut to this basbusa. Let's see here. So these coconut pieces are pretty, like coconut flakes or shredded coconut, whatever you want to call it. They are pretty big. If you decide to add coconut to your basbusa, it is important that you blend it. If you do not blend it to make the coconut finer, what will happen is when you mix it in with the batter, if there's any of the coconut pieces like towards the top, you're going to see like a lot of spots of like burned spots that will essentially be the coconut. So you want it to be much finer before you add it in. Another thing too, just to run it back with everything that happened in today's live, where we made this Egyptian besbousa. We started off with the dry ingredients. Most importantly was the semolina flour, which is this stuff right here. This is what is used for making besbousa. It is important that you use semolina flour and not any type of flour, because it helps not only give that nice golden color on the inside, it also gives that slightly coarse texture to basbousa. So you want to use semolina flour. That's number one. So we start with semolina flour in a large mixing bowl. We added sugar, a touch of baking powder, some vanillin powder, and then the optional coconut flakes that we shredded, that we blended even finer in a food processor. Just like the coconut by itself was blended. The coconut was blended by itself, then it was incorporated with the dry ingredients. We mixed the dry ingredients up, and then we melted some semna. Semna is clarified butter in Arabic. We melted some semna, and then we poured it in with the dry ingredients. Then we added plain yogurt as well, and we gave it all a nice mix. But it is very important not to over mix it, because if you over mix it when making the batter, like once you incorporate the wet batter, the wet with the dry, if you over mix it, it can actually cause the semolina flour to essentially like activate any of the it can cause the semolina flour to absorb the liquid that you use. So in this case, the butter, the semna, and the yogurt. So it can cause the semolina flour to absorb too much of that, which will then activate the excess gluten. And then what happens is when you bake it, it will result in a tougher basbousa, which you do not want that to happen. So when you go to mix the wet with the dry, do it just enough to ensure that there are no clumps of the dry left over, and you are good to go. And in terms of the thickness and consistency of the batter, so in this case, I used a whisk. A good sign or a good way to measure if you have the correct consistency. Considering that I was using a whisk, think of like something like pancake batter. When you go to lift the whisk up out of the batter, within 1, 2, or 3 seconds, all that batter is going to drip down, and you will be able to see right through the whisk. That is not a good thing when it comes to basbousa. Basbousa should be on the thicker side. Kind of think of like a mixture of batter and wet sand. So when you lift the whisk up, or if you're using a different tool to mix it together, it should not easily slide off. You do not want it to be dry. You want to find that happy medium. So once you have the batter whipped up, then you take your baking tray or sheet, whatever it is that you are using, whatever baking dish. You want something thinner, on the thinner side. You line it, you brush some of the melted semna along all the sides of the baking sheet. Then you pour in the basbousa batter. And instead of using a tool to spread it nice and even, I essentially just took the tray, like just imagine that this is a tray, and I shook it side to side to spread the basbousa batter. And then to further help spread it out and also release any of the air pockets, I took the tray and I smacked it down on my countertop several times, to the point where there was silver on my countertop that like kind of like smeared off or brushed off, whatever you want to call it. So if you go to do that, if you use that method, just lay down a towel first instead, and you should be good to go. And then before we baked it in the oven, I just gently traced over some lines, some cut lines. I did not push all the way down with the knife, just literally just glided the knife along the top to make my cuts. You can either cut it into squares, rectangles, diamond shapes, whatever it is whatever you desire. There's really no wrong answer between those three shapes. Bake it in the oven, 400 degrees Fahrenheit for about 30 minutes. At that 30-minute mark, it will be like the top layer should be like a light, like a golden color. And to the touch, it should feel like a little bit dense. I don't know if dense is like the right word. Yeah, I think dense, but also tender in the same sense. To where like that top layer, dense in terms of like it forms like a crust, that golden crust. But like when you feel it with your finger, it should still be tender as well. It should still feel tender. But then once you reach that about 30 minutes of bake time, we switched it over to a broil just for a few minutes to turn the top golden crust, to turn the top crust layer from that golden color to more of this brown color. Only took a couple minutes for that to happen. Then we took it out of the oven. And as soon as we took it out of the oven, while it was baking in the oven, we made the simple syrup. I completely forgot. To make the simple syrup, it was very simple. We equal parts water with sugar. We gave it a nice mix to allow all the sugar to dissolve. And then once it reached the boil, we squeezed in some fresh lemon juice. We gave it a nice mix. We turned off the heat. Then we added some vanilla powder, gave it a nice mix. And then I actually swapped it over onto my main stove, and I just kept it at a low heat while we were waiting for the basbousa to finish up. I think we had like about 5 minutes left for the basbousa, so I just had the heat on the simple syrup while we were waiting for the basbousa to finish. And once we took the basbousa out of the oven, then we came in with the simple syrup, literally just poured it right over. It should, when you first pour it over, the simple syrup should essentially form a pool over the basbousa. And it does take initially like about 15 minutes for it to seep down. However, it is not necessarily ready at that point in time. If you cut into it now and serve it, it will most likely fall apart because it is still hot. And also, you may not have been able to tell at the time. Now it does look a little bit better because it's been some time since we poured the simple syrup. But even though the top part seemed like the simple syrup was able to seep through, along the edges, because the edges do not necessarily burn, but like cook a little bit deeper than the center part. So there was essentially like a pool border, like a border of the simple syrup. So you want to really give it some time for it to seep through. And not only once it seeps through, you want it to give it some time for it to cool down, because while it's still hot, it does not give enough time for the simple syrup to really like bond with the basbousa itself. So once it cools down, it allows the sugar to harden a little bit, which will help hold the basbousa slices together. So now we're at the point where we just have to wait for like a couple hours before we serve this. And that pretty much brings everybody up to speed on how we made this Egyptian basbousa. Here, let me give you guys a close up. Let me put these things back on temporarily. There you go. Here's a close up of this Egyptian basbousa that we just made in today's live. I have not even tried it yet, but just by looking at it in comparison to what I made last time over a year ago, this is already a win. I am truly confident in the results of this once we dig into it. But I will not be doing that live, considering that we have to wait a few more hours for that result. But that pretty much brings everybody up to speed on how we made this basbousa. In terms of what's to come next, and to bring you guys up to speed on everything, earlier today I did post my most recent recipe video for mahshi bidangan, which is Egyptian style stuffed eggplant. Definitely go check out that video if you are a fan of eggplants and are looking for a different way to enjoy eggplant. Definitely try that recipe. The full recipe, written instructions, and video can be found all in one place on my website, theegyptiancook.com. What else? I also started a new series today, my question of the day video. So the first one posted today where I was asked least favorite Egyptian food. That video is 8 seconds long, just posted today. The comments have been absolutely hilarious to me. Definitely go check it out. Leave a comment, like it, share it. Let me know your thoughts on it as well too. Each day I plan to release a new question of the day that is asked by my followers over on Instagram. So if you want to be able to ask me a question and see it as part of my video collection, definitely head over to my Instagram and pay attention to my stories, because that's where you will have the opportunity to have your question turned into a video with for me to respond to. But other than that, thank you everybody who tuned in to today's live where we made this Egyptian basbousa. I am Mohammed the Egyptian Cook, and the full recipe video, the final cut, will post for all of my YouTube members. If you are a paid member on my YouTube channel, you will have early access to the final cut of this recipe video by tomorrow night. For everybody else, it will not post until the following week. What else? I think that's pretty much it for tonight, guys. Thank you everybody who tuned in as we made this Egyptian basbousa. I am Mohammed the Egyptian Cook. Thank you and have a wonderful night.